Hello everyone and welcome to my Y&R Insider 24 update channel. Y&R, Nick's delay ruins reunion, Sharon and Detective Burrows bond. Nick's delay in traveling to Los Angeles to see Noah Newman, Lucas Adams, and Sharon Newman, Sharon case, according to the young and the reckless spoilers. Sharon and Nick had rekindled their romance slowly, they kissed months ago and then nothing. Some fans are still waiting for more. Nick Newman is a bit worried. Nick is worried about how this will affect their friendship and co-parenting relationship if he and Sharon reunite. Sharon, on the other hand, wants to proceed vigorously. Noah is trying to start up a new club in LA and wanted his parents' help. Noah will be in danger the week of October 13th, when Matt Cohen's Detective Burrows makes his debut. Nick was instructed to stay because Newman needs all hands on deck following the article that was posted against Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn. Nick was supposed to leave on October 9th. Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, advised Nick to stay put as well. Sharon is going to be alone in LA and could very easily lean on Detective Burrows. Accidentally, Noah Newman is injured. Fans know that Sharon will call Nick next week and tell him that Noah was in an accident and it was very bad. Sharon will need someone to lean on while Nick is still in Genoa City, and since Nick isn't there, it looks like the detective might be that person. Could Sharon end up in Burrows' bed while waiting for Nick to join her? Without entering a romantic relationship, Sharon could simply lean on Burrows for support. It seems that Sharon's hands will be tied up as Nick is trying to untangle himself from Victor's war with Kane. After all, if Noah is in that bad shape, he will need a lot of care. How long will Noah's recovery take? Nick Newman gets to Los Angeles. Nick will finally make it to LA in light of Noah's issues. However, Sharon may find herself very interested in the detective and not so much on Nick. Since Nick has been unable to reach Sharon in Los Angeles when she needs him to be there for their son due to issues with his family, will Sharon decide that it is time to move on? According to spoilers, Nick and Sharon's reunion will encounter yet another obstacle. Could Nick and Sharon come to the realization that they would be better off as friends and continue their platonic relationship? Will it be okay with Nick if Sharon moves on to another person while she waits for him in Los Angeles? Who else might be involved in Nick's problems in Los Angeles? For all things Y&R, come here. The young and the restless news, spoilers, and updates can be found here frequently. The young and the restless, Sharon's emotional crossroads, love, loyalty, and the lure of the unexpected. In Genoa City, life never moves in straight lines, it twists, bends, and loops back to where it began. 4 decades, Sharon Newman and Nick Newman have been one of the young and the restless most iconic couples, bound by love, loss, and shared history. But as this latest storyline unfolds, their fragile reunion teeters on the edge of collapse, caught between family crisis and fate's cruel sense of timing. With Nick's delay in traveling to Los Angeles to support Sharon and their son Noah, a new character enters the mix, Detective Burrows, a man whose presence may change everything for Sharon. This week's storyline, playing out from October 13th, 2025, presents a storm of emotions and decisions. Sharon and Nick had finally begun to rebuild the bridge between them. After years of missteps and heartbreak, they had shared a meaningful kiss months ago, a spark that reignited the old flame fans have longed to see burn again. Yet, like so many times before, that flame risks being snuffed out by circumstance. Just when it seemed destiny was giving them another chance, reality has intervened with cruel precision. Nick Newman's reluctance and restless heart. Nick Newman, played with quiet intensity by Joshua Morrow, finds himself at a moral crossroads. The son of Victor Newman has always wrestled with his father's shadow, torn between loyalty to the Newman legacy and his own desire for independence. Now, once again, that legacy interferes with his personal life. He had planned to fly to Los Angeles to help Noah open his new club, an ambitious project meant to prove the younger Newman's creative growth and independence. Yet at the last moment, Victor and the Newman corporate empire pulled him back in. A damaging exposé about Kane Ashby's AI technology dropped just as Nick prepared to leave town, forcing him to stay in Genoa City to contain the fallout. Victor, ever the puppet master, insisted his son stay close to home, reminding him that family loyalty comes before personal plans. Even Adam, who normally revels in undermining Nick, urged him to remain, perhaps out of genuine concern, or perhaps with ulterior motives. Either way, Nick's delay would become the pivot upon which fate would turn. For Nick, the decision wasn't easy. He knew Sharon and Noah needed him. He'd already been trying to rebuild Sharon's trust after years of missed chances, and this trip to Los Angeles was supposed to symbolize a new chapter. Instead, his sense of duty and loyalty to the Newman name once again derailed his personal happiness. It's a familiar pattern, Nick's constant struggle to be both the dutiful son and the devoted partner. And as fans know, every time he chooses Newman Enterprises over Sharon, it pushes her further away. Sharon Newman's fragile hope. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Sharon Newman, portrayed by Sharon Case, is left waiting. Sharon has weathered storms that would have broken lesser women, grief, loss, betrayal, even mental illness, and yet she remains resilient. This time, she went to LA to support Noah as he launched his new business venture, full of maternal pride and cautious optimism. The trip was supposed to be a fresh start for both mother and son. But without Nick by her side, that optimism begins to wane. At first, Sharon tries to stay upbeat. She tells herself Nick will come when he can, that his delay is temporary. But as days pass, and calls from Genoa City become less frequent, she begins to feel the old doubts creeping in. Is she once again being asked to take a backseat to the Newman empire? Does Nick's love always come with conditions, timing, obligation, priorities that never seem to include her? These are the questions that begin to weigh heavily on Sharon's mind. The emotional tension heightens when Noah's plans suddenly spiral into chaos. His new club project, meant to represent freedom and creativity, becomes the site of an unexpected tragedy. A sudden accident leaves Noah hospitalized, and Sharon's world is thrown into disarray. Alone in a city far from home, she must navigate fear, confusion, and helplessness without the one person she expected to lean on, Nick. Enter Detective Burrows, the unexpected ally. It is at this point that Detective Burrows, played by Matt Cohen, makes his debut. A man of quiet confidence and steady strength, Burrows is called in to investigate the circumstances surrounding Noah's accident. But his connection with Sharon goes far beyond professional boundaries. In Burrows, Sharon finds something she hasn't felt in a long time: stability without judgment. Where Nick is impulsive, burdened by family politics, and often distracted, Burrows is calm, grounded, and present. He listens. He empathizes. And as the days stretch on and the nights grow longer, Sharon finds herself confiding in him more deeply than she ever intended. Their bond begins innocently enough. Burrows offers updates about Noah's case, helps her navigate the bureaucracy of the lapse, and reassures her that her son is in good hands. But soon, the conversations become more personal. Sharon shares stories about her family, about Faith, Mariah, and Nick. She speaks of her struggles and her fears. Burrows, in turn, shares pieces of his own past, a failed marriage, a career that often kept him away from home, and the emotional toll of serving in law enforcement. They connect through shared loneliness. Fans have seen Sharon in similar situations before, drawn to men who show her kindness in moments of vulnerability. Yet this connection feels different. It's not born of recklessness or desire, but of emotional alignment. Burrows doesn't try to fix her or judge her past. He simply listens. And for a woman who has spent much of her life defending her choices, that quiet acceptance becomes intoxicating. Nick's war in Genoa City. Back in Genoa City, Nick is fighting his own war. The expose against Kane Ashby's AI project has set off a corporate wildfire. Newman Enterprises is under scrutiny, and Nick finds himself caught between loyalty to Victor and moral discomfort over how far his family is willing to go to protect their empire. Adam's motives are suspect, as always, and Victoria is quick to remind Nick that business comes before emotion. Yet as the chaos mounts, Nick can't shake his guilt. He knows Sharon is alone, facing Noah's crisis without him. He tries to call, but Sharon's phone is often off, or she's too distraught to talk. He promises he'll get there soon, but soon stretches into days and then into a painful silence. His absence becomes more than just physical, it becomes emotional distance, a familiar rift that Sharon has felt too many times before. When Nick finally learns the full extent of Noah's injuries, his resolve cracks. Against Victor's wishes, He books a flight to Los Angeles, determined to put family first. But by then, time has done its damage. Sharon has already begun to rely on Detective Burrows, and the emotional space between her and Nick has grown wider than ever. Sharon's emotional temptation. As Sharon spends more time with Burrows, subtle chemistry begins to simmer beneath the surface. It's not overt or reckless, it's a quiet pull, a sense of comfort and safety that begins to feel dangerously close to intimacy. When Sharon receives devastating updates about Noah's condition, it's Burrows who steadies her trembling hands. When she can't sleep, it's his calm voice that soothes her fears. Here's a scene, rumored to air later in the week, where Sharon breaks down outside the hospital, overcome with emotion, and Burrows gently wraps an arm around her shoulders. It's an innocent gesture, but one charged with unspoken emotion. Their eyes meet for a moment too long, and Sharon steps away, shaken by what she's feeling. She reminds herself she loves Nick, that this is simply grief and exhaustion, but deep down, she knows it's something more complicated. Soap history teaches that emotional connections often evolve into romantic ones, especially when distance and miscommunication plague an existing relationship. Sharon's struggle becomes one of moral conflict, between loyalty to Nick and her growing reliance on someone new. She's been burned before by rushing into relationships too quickly, and yet, the heart rarely listens to reason. Nick's arrival, too late for redemption? When Nick finally arrives in Los Angeles, the reunion is far from the joyful scene he imagined. He rushes to the hospital, expecting to find Sharon relieved and grateful. Instead, he walks into a room where Detective Burrows is already standing beside her, offering quiet comfort. The tension is palpable. Sharon's gratitude toward the detective is genuine, but Nick interprets it as something more. His jealousy flares, not out of anger, but out of fear that he's lost her again. Their confrontation is inevitable. Nick demands to know why Sharon didn't tell him sooner about Noah's condition. Sharon, exhausted and defensive, reminds him that she did call, but that Newman business kept him away. The argument escalates, their old wounds bleeding fresh once more. Sharon accuses Nick of always putting his father's world above hers. Nick fires back that he was trying to protect his family's reputation so that Noah would have a future to come home to. The words are bitter, the emotions raw, and in that moment, it becomes clear they are two people who love each other deeply but no longer speak the same emotional language. Detective Burrows, sensing the tension, steps back. Yet his presence alone is enough to shift the balance. Sharon defends him when Nick insinuates that Burrows might be taking advantage of her vulnerability. "He's been here when you weren't," she snaps, a line that echoes through the hospital halls and straight into the hearts of viewers. It's the kind of line that defines turning points in soap history. The aftermath, choices and consequences. As the week unfolds, Sharon is forced to make difficult choices. Noah's recovery becomes her priority, but her emotional state is fractured. She cares for Nick, always will, but the bond they once shared feels altered by time and circumstance. Detective Burrows becomes a mirror for what she's missing: presence, attention, and stability. Yet Sharon is no fool. She knows that running from one man to another has never brought her peace. This time, she's determined to think clearly before acting on impulse. Nick, for his part, must confront his own patterns. He's realizing too late that his inability to separate himself from Newman drama has cost him more than corporate control, it's cost him intimacy and trust. He tries to make amends, promising to stay in LA as long as it takes, but Sharon's eyes tell him she's unsure whether promises are enough anymore. The distance between them may not be measured in miles, but in choices made long ago. Will Sharon move on, or forgive again? The larger question looming over this storyline is whether Sharon will finally move on from Nick for good. Fans are divided. Some believe Sharon and Nick are soulmates destined to reunite no matter what. Others feel Sharon deserves a fresh start, free from the endless cycle of heartbreak that defines her relationship with the Newmans. Detective Burrows represents a new path, one rooted in mutual respect rather than history. Whether it becomes romantic or simply a meaningful friendship remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: he is exactly the kind of catalyst Sharon needs right now. Meanwhile, Nick's future remains uncertain. His absence from LA has opened more than just an emotional gap, it's created opportunities for misunderstanding, regret, and self-reflection. How he responds to Sharon's growing independence will determine not just the fate of their romance, but his growth as a man. Will he fall back into old patterns of jealousy and control, or finally learn to love Sharon for who she is, not who he needs her to be? A look ahead. Spoilers suggest that this storyline is only the beginning of a larger emotional arc. Detective Burrows is expected to become a recurring figure, potentially investigating future storylines tied to Newman Enterprises and Kane Ashby's AI scandal. Sharon, caught between two worlds, romantic loyalty and emotional renewal, will continue to wrestle with her feelings. Noah's recovery will serve as the backdrop for these evolving dynamics, with his accident connecting multiple characters across both Genoa City and Los Angeles. In classic Young and the Restless fashion, nothing will be simple. Sharon and Nick's love story has always been one of timing, and once again, timing has failed them. But perhaps, in losing each other yet again, they may finally find clarity about what they truly want. Final thoughts. This arc represents the best of the young and the restless, emotional complexity, moral dilemmas, and the eternal question of whether love can survive when life refuses to cooperate. Sharon and Nick's story is about more than romance, it's about personal growth, forgiveness, and the quiet tragedy of almosts. Detective Burrows' arrival adds a compelling new layer, challenging long-held loyalties and forcing both Sharon and Nick to confront what it truly means to be present. As the episodes unfold, viewers are left to wonder, is this the end of Chic as we know it, or just another test in their decades-long love story? In Genoa City, after all, nothing ever really ends, it just begins again in a different form.